Hello there, good people. Welcome to It's a Shaw Thing. I'm your host, Rob Shaw, here to talk a little fantasy football. We're just kicking off the week. It's Monday. We're talking about 3 players moving up in value and 3 players moving down in value after Week 9 in the NFL. Well, we start at the quarterback position, and the biggest surprise had to take place in Tampa Bay. Josh Freeman, the rookie quarterback, was fantastic in this one. He threw for 3 touchdowns on 205 passing yards, 1 interception. I'll tell you what, he took 2 sacks, so you have to give the guy credit for hanging in there. The one thing I'll say about him, I don't think his value is going to be all that great from here on out, but the thing I do like about him was that he played it very safe. He was a little conservative. He threw the ball to the guys that made sense, the guys who were around him, not the big home run touchdown passes. Instead, he threw the ball close into his tight end, Kellen Winslow, to members of the backfield, such as Derek Ward, who ended up scoring a touchdown in this one. So great performance from Freeman, certainly a surprise, and for that reason, he's a player moving up in value. As far as a quarterback moving down in value, perhaps coming back to earth, is Joe Flacco of the Baltimore Ravens. I've been saying it all year. The guy's only got one true playmaker on his team. His name is Ray Rice, and he's a running back. That's not good news for a big quarterback. As far as Flacco's production this past week, second time he struggled against the Cincinnati Bengals. He threw 2 interceptions, no touchdowns, 195 passing yards. For the season now, in 2 games against the Bengals, that's only 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions. So perhaps they're his bugaboo, but at the same time, Flacco has not been putting up the big numbers we saw earlier in the season. For that reason, I'd start looking for some other options, such as Alex Smith of the San Francisco 49ers. We move on to the wide receiver position, a player who definitely got our attention this weekend with 2 touchdowns in the waning moments for the Kansas City Chiefs was Chris Chambers. Big performance from Chambers, considering he just recently got released by the San Diego Chargers. Well, what to expect from him moving forward? Don't think for a second that suddenly he's the #1 wide receiver for that team. No, it is still Dwayne Bowe, but he does play a big number 2 for that team. I'm not sure Matt Castle's going to have enough time to always reach his wide receivers. That's why he usually dumps the ball off to his running back and his tight end as well. But I do think that this is a guy who could offer some value, at least more than he's been giving us earlier this season in San Diego. So Chris Chambers with 2 touchdown receptions, a big performance for him. As far as a wide receiver moving down in value, Steve Smith of the Carolina Panthers. Remember, he's coming off 1,400 receiving yards. So a lot of guys, a lot of fantasy managers picked him up in the early rounds, and they have to be disappointed. Right now, he's on pace for fewer than 1,000 yards receiving, coming off 1,400 yards last season, and on pace for just 2 touchdowns so far. Most recently, 64 yards of offense with 0 touchdowns and a loss. Things are not good for Steve Smith. This is a team that's been putting the ball on the ground because I think they're scared to death of what might happen if Jake Delhomme throws it in the air. So Steve Smith's value is certainly going down. You might want to consider trading him. And now we move to the running back position. The guy who's moving up in value has to be Joseph Addai of the Indianapolis Colts, looking like the Addai of old, a guy who used to be picked up in the early rounds of fantasy drafts. He racked up over 110 yards of total offense, 63 yards on the ground, 49 yards in the air was the split. Also 2 touchdowns, a touchdown in each way. So this is a guy who's putting up big numbers ever since Donald Brown went down with an injury. But the important thing is this: he's showing the Colts he still has a little something left. Remember, when Jonathan Stewart was drafted by the Panthers, they thought he'd end up starting by season, I guess middle of the season. That ended up not happening, not because Stewart struggled, it's because D'Angelo Williams, who was already on the team, started performing like he never had before. Well, Addai has a past in which he was very productive. He's starting to show a little bit more of it, so maybe he'll end up having more opportunities to reward his fantasy managers moving forward. Next up, a running back moving down in value. Oh boy, remember last year you were saying LaDainian Tomlinson, a little bit of a disappointment. Well, last year he still racked up over 1,500 total yards of offense. This year he's on pace for fewer than 600 yards of total offense. Most recently, racking up just 30 yards of total offense in a win over the New York Giants. He does not have a vital role for that Chargers offense anymore. The only good thing about him is that he does get a lot of goal line opportunities. But aside from that, he's not getting his 15, 20, 50-yard plays anymore. He's no longer one of the big targets for that team. They're looking for Vincent Jackson, Antonio Gates over him, and Darren Sproles also is getting some carries as well. LaDainian Tomlinson's value is pretty much gone. You might want to consider trading him if he still has some value in your fantasy league. Well, my friends, that's all for now. We'll talk some news and notes tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.